The forest behind the Blake family cabin was quiet in a way that didn't feel natural. Not peaceful, just still, as if something were waiting. The kind of stillness that settles just before a storm or after something terrible has happened. Most families might have avoided such a place. But for Jacob Blake, age 11, that forest was a playground. At least it used to be. The Blake family visited their cabin every summer, a tradition from long before Jacob was born. His father always talked about how he and his brothers used to run through the woods barefoot, climbing the rocks, pretending to hunt monsters and ghosts. The place was meant to be full of memories, warm, adventurous, golden childhood days. But by the time Jacob was old enough to go there, the cabin was no longer surrounded by laughter. The land had grown strange. The trees seemed too tall, too close, bending over the trails like giant watchful figures. The old picnic clearing his father remembered was gone, overgrown with dark brush and tangled roots. Even the creek behind the cabin no longer sounded like running water. It gurgled low and thick, like something slowly breathing. Jacob never said it aloud, but he didn't trust the woods. Not after what he had seen last summer. Not after what he had heard. It began on a warm evening in late July. Jacob's older cousins, Sam and Tyler, had arrived for the weekend. They were loud, energetic, and easily bored. The kind of kids who couldn't sit still for 5 minutes without turning it into a game. When the adults settled into the cabin after dinner, talking about dull grown-up things, the cousins turned to the woods outside. "Let's play hide and seek," Tyler said, already on his feet. Real hide and seek. In the forest. Jacob's chest tightened. He remembered last summer. He remembered the voice. But he didn't want to look scared. He couldn't be the baby cousin again. He swallowed. "Okay. But we don't go past the tree line." Both cousins looked at him like he had spoken in another language. "The what?" "Mask." Jacob pointed to a distinct point in the forest. The trees closest to the cabin were tall but spaced, their trunks easily visible. But past a certain point the line, everything changed. The trees beyond were tightly packed, branches tangled overhead, blocking sunlight even during the day. Jacob didn't know what to call it, so he just called it the tree line. His father had once told him never to go past it. He hadn't said why. He didn't need to. Some things you can feel. "Dude," Tyler scoffed. "It's just trees." "No," Jacob said. "Past there, it's different." Sam grinned. "All the more reason to go." Jacob wanted to argue. His stomach twisted. Something deep in him whispered no. "Well, don't." But he didn't speak. He just nodded. Tyler was chosen to count first. He turned to the cabin wall and covered his eyes. 1, 2, 3. Sam ran into the forest laughing. Jacob followed but stopped just before the tree line, heart hammering. He needed a hiding place. Not too close. Not too far. Then he saw something. Fallen log. Long moss-covered, just inside the safe side of the forest. Perfect. He crouched behind it. The forest was quiet again. Too quiet. 19, 20. Ready or not? Tyler's voice carried farther than it should have, as though something in the woods was helping it travel. Jacob closed his eyes, listening. A step. Leaves moving. Twigs snapping. Tyler was searching. Everything was normal. First. Then Jacob heard something else. A whisper. Very faint. Very far away. But he recognized it instantly. Jacob. His throat tightened. "Whoa. No, 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 no. Not again." The whisper came again, clearer, closer. "Jacob. Come hide with me." The voice was not Sam. Not Tyler. It was wrong, thin, stretched, like someone speaking with a mouth too wide. Jacob pressed into the dirt, shaking. He hoped it would go away. Instead it came closer. Leaves rustled, soft, slow footsteps, coming from past the tree line. Jacob didn't breathe. The sound stopped behind him. Right behind the log. He felt it. Something standing over him. He did not look. He did not move. Something leaned down. He knew because he heard it breathing. But it didn't breathe like a person. It breathed like something that was trying to copy breathing. "Slow in." Was slow out. Was like it was learning. Then the voice whispered, "I found you." Jacob nearly screamed. But suddenly, footsteps approached from the other direction. Real footsteps. Tyler's voice called out, "Got you." Jacob gasped and sat up. Tyler was right in front of him, smiling. But Jacob's face was pale. Tyler frowned. "Dude, are you okay?" Jacob shook his head. "We need to find Sam. Now." They began calling for him. But Sam didn't answer. Minutes passed. Shadows lengthened. The woods darkened. "Sam!" Tyler shouted again, louder this time, edge of panic creeping in. No reply. Then finally they heard him. "Over here." His voice echoed from past the tree line. Jacob froze. His skin turned cold. Because the voice didn't sound right. The words were Sam's. But the tone was too flat. Too inviting. Tyler didn't notice. He started walking toward the tree line. Jacob grabbed his wrist. "Don't. It's Sam." "That's not Sam." Tyler pulled away. "Don't be stupid." He stepped past the tree line. Jacob felt the forest shift. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing if someone falls they don't come back. He followed. He couldn't leave Tyler. The forest past the line was like stepping into another world. Darker. Heavier. The trees grew twisted, roots ripping through the ground like veins. No wind. No insects. No sound except their breathing. They walked for minutes, hours. Jacob didn't know anymore. Then they found Sam. He was standing with his back to them, facing a large hollowed tree trunk. Motionless, like a statue. His arms hung limply. His head tilted slightly to the side. "Sam!" Tyler rushed forward. Jacob didn't. Something was wrong. Tyler grabbed his cousin's shoulder and turned him around. Sam's eyes were open, but they were empty. Not blank, just not focused. Not looking at anything human beings look at. Tyler shook him. "Dude. Hello. Are you okay?" Sam's mouth opened. Very slowly. Like a puppet controlled by strings. "Found me," he whispered. But it was not his voice. Jacob stepped back. Tyler froze, realizing too late. Sam's head twitched too far to the side. Farther than joints should move. Cracking noises under the skin. Then the whisper came again. From Sam's mouth. But not Sam's voice. "You should have stayed hidden." Jacob grabbed Tyler and ran. They didn't look back. Branches slapped them. Roots tripped them. The woods pushed against them. The air felt thick, slowing them. Something followed. Footsteps just behind, matching their pace, never out of breath. When they burst through the tree line, the world felt normal again. Loud. Alive. Real. They didn't stop until they reached the cabin. When they finally spoke, they told the adults that Sam was missing. Search teams came. Dogs, flashlights, radios, maps. They found Sam 2 hours later. Sitting beside the same fallen log Jacob had hidden behind. His eyes were normal again. But he didn't speak for 3 days. And when he did, he only said one thing. "I wasn't hiding from you." He looked at Jacob. "I was hiding with you." Jacob didn't sleep that night. Because he remembered the breathing. The whisper. The presence behind the log. And he realized. Sam hadn't been the one standing there. Something else had found them first. Something still in the woods. Something still counting. Something still waiting. There is a section of the Pine River Forest that locals simply call the Quiet Mile. It's not marked on any official map. No sign warns hikers of it. But everyone in town knows where it begins. At a narrow footpath where the trees grow unusually close, their branches crossing overhead like interlocked hands. The Quiet Mile has no birds. No insects. No wind. Just silence so heavy it presses against your skin. No one plays there. No one hikes there. Except once. And that was all it took. Amber, Lucas, and Mia were best friends. Inseparable since kindergarten. They were 17 that fall. Restless and hungry for something interesting. Their small mountain town offered little entertainment. Same roads, same shopfronts, same faces. So when Lucas suggested exploring Pine River Forest after dark, the idea was too tempting to refuse. "Come on," he said with an excited grin. "We'll bring flashlights. We can camp, maybe tell stories. It'll be fun." Amber hesitated. She remembered the local warnings. Stories whispered by old men outside the gas station and mothers who spoke about the forest the same way one speaks about open water. Respect it. Don't assume it's empty just because it's quiet. But Mia laughed, linking arms with her. "It's just a forest." So they went. They brought a tent, instant ramen, and a lantern. And because they were still teenagers wanting to feel like children again, they brought a game, hide and seek. Just to make things fun. They hiked nearly an hour into the woods before setting up camp. The forest air was cool, pine-scented. The sky a deep navy scattered with stars. They cooked, they talked, they told jokes. For a moment it felt perfect. Then they noticed the silence. No crickets. No wind. No rustling leaves. Just the crackling lantern flame. Amber swallowed hard. "We're in the quiet mile," she whispered. Lucas shrugged. "So what? It's just superstition." But Mia's smile faltered. Amber tried to push the unease away. "Fine," she said, trying to sound confident. "Let's play. 1 round only." Lucas clapped once. "I'll seek." He turned to face a tree and began counting. Amber and Mia darted in opposite directions. Laughing, breathing, thrilled by the adrenaline. Amber found a hiding place behind a cluster of boulders covered in thick moss. She crouched low, controlling her breathing. She listened. Lucas's voice carried through the trees. 22, 23, 24. Then silence. No footsteps. No searching. Just stillness. Amber peeked around the rock. The forest seemed darker now. The shadows felt heavier. Minutes passed. No one came. Had Lucas started yet? She waited. And waited. And the silence grew deeper. Finally, she decided to head back to camp. She moved quietly, expecting at any moment to see Lucas jump out, laughing. But she didn't see Lucas. She didn't see the camp either. Just trees. Layers and layers of trees. Amber stopped. She knew she hadn't wandered far. She was certain she'd gone in one direction. But now everything looked the same. Her heart picked up. "Mia," she called softly. No answer. "Lucas." Her voice didn't echo. It didn't travel. Just dissolved. She turned in a slow circle. And that's when she heard it. A giggle. High, faint, echoing through the trees. "Mia." Amber exhaled with relief and began walking toward the voice. But then it giggled again. This time from behind her. Then from her left. Then from ahead. As if someone was circling her. "Mia," Amber whispered, fear tightening around her lungs. The giggling stopped. A voice whispered right next to her ear. "Found you." Amber screamed and ran. Branches tore at her clothes. Roots caught her ankles. The forest floor was uneven, sloping downward in ways she didn't understand. She didn't know where she was going, just away. Away from that whisper. Finally, she saw light through the trees. The camp. Her lungs burned as she stumbled into the clearing. Mia was sitting beside the unlit lantern, hugging her knees. "Where's Lucas?" she choked out. Mia didn't look up. Her fingers dug into her arms. Her breath came in broken gasps. "Amber," she whispered. It wasn't Lucas counting. Amber froze. "What?" Mia shook her head violently, tears streaming. It was too close. Too slow. It sounded like someone learning how to say the numbers. Amber's stomach dropped. She swallowed hard. "Where did Lucas go?" Mia looked up. Her eyes were wide. "Me." "He went to look for you." That was when Amber realized just how dark the forest had become. The moon was gone. The stars were gone. The world seemed swallowed. Something moved just beyond the treeline. Amber grabbed Mia's hand. "We're leaving. Now." They ran back the way they came. But the forest was different now. Paths twisted. The trees leaned inward, forcing them to duck and slide. The air grew thick, pulling at them like mud. Behind them, footsteps. Low. Deliberate. Following. Not rushing. Just watching. They kept running until they saw headlights through the trees. The road. They burst out of the woods and onto the gravel shoulder, collapsing in tears. A truck came to a screeching halt. The driver was a hunter from town. He jumped out yelling questions. Are you hurt? Where's your friend? What happened? But neither girl could speak. Not at first. Search teams went into the woods. They searched for 3 days. Lucas's backpack was found near a tree. Then his flashlight. Then his shoe. But they never found Lucas. Not a body. Not a piece of him. Not even a bone. The forest kept him. Amber and Mia never returned to that forest. But sometimes, when Amber is trying to sleep, she hears counting outside her window. Low. What? 1. 6. 7. 8. She doesn't open her eyes. She doesn't look. But she knows what would happen if she did. Because the forest did not forget her. And it is still seeking. The police arrived quickly, blocking off the street and searching every corner of the house. The basement door was broken, the lights destroyed, and the scent of damp cement clung to the air. But whoever or whatever had been down there was long gone. Aisha sat on the living room couch, wrapped in a blanket, hands trembling. She kept hearing the whisper from earlier echo in her mind. 8, 9, 10. Her cousin Samir sat beside her, equally pale. Maybe it was just some old squatter, he tried, voice weak. But his eyes showed he didn't believe it. The police questioned them both, walked through rooms, took notes. Eventually, when nothing new was found, they left. Night fell heavy. The house felt even quieter now. Too quiet. Aisha tried to sleep in her room, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still inside the house. Something that had watched them hide. Something that wasn't finished. Around midnight, Samir knocked on her door, whispering urgently, Aisha, come look. She followed him to the hallway. The front door, which had been locked by the police, was now wide open. Cold night air drifted in. But what made her stomach drop was what was on the floor, right in the center of the hallway. A length of thick black hair, tied with a band, cut cleanly, neatly. It was the exact same hair they'd seen dangling in the basement. Aisha's hand covered her mouth. Samir whispered, he left it here. He wants us to know he can come in. Before she could respond, the house lights flickered. Then everything went dark. And in the darkness, the counting returned, this time right behind them. 11. They froze. No breathing. No footsteps. Just that slow, patient whisper. 12. Aisha didn't wait. She grabbed Samir's hand and ran. Down the stairs, across the living room, straight out the still-open front door. They stumbled barefoot into the street, not caring who saw them. When they looked back, the house stood silent. No movement, no shadows. But in the upstairs window, just barely visible, figure. And smiling. Holding a piece of hair in his hand. Aisha and Samir didn't go back to the house. Not that night. Not the next morning. They stayed at a nearby relative's home, surrounded by family. Doors locked, lights on. But fear didn't care about walls or people. Followed them like a shadow. The next day, Aisha's mother finally returned from the trip. She listened to everything, every detail. At first she seemed disturbed, but not surprised. That made something twist in Aisha's chest. Ami, why aren't you shocked? She demanded, voice trembling. Her mother took a deep breath. There is something I never told you. Something about that house. Samir leaned in. What do you mean? Aisha's mother avoided their eyes. Before we moved in, the house belonged to a family. A husband, wife, and their son. But one day the boy disappeared. They searched for weeks. Police, neighbors, everyone looked. They eventually assumed he was kidnapped. She paused, her voice growing faint. But he wasn't taken. He was hiding. Samir's voice was barely audible. Hiding where? Aisha's mother's eyes filled with dread. In the basement, the air in the room seemed to freeze. Aisha's mother continued, slower, heavier. They had a tradition. Every night they played hide and seek as a family. It was innocent at first, but the boy took it too seriously, too obsessively. He would hide for hours. One day they couldn't find him at all. They thought he was gone forever. But he was there, under the floorboards, watching. Aisha felt her blood go cold. He lived down there for months, her mother whispered. He only came out at night. And he changed. When they finally discovered him, the father tried to get help, but she swallowed. The boy killed them. Silence. Cold. Silence. Aisha's voice trembled. So, the basement man is him? Her mother nodded slowly. He never left the house. Samir felt his stomach drop. He's been living there all along. Aisha felt faint. But the nightmare wasn't finished. A sound from outside the window made them freeze. Slow, dragging a scrape. Like something being pulled across concrete. Samir went to the window, hesitated, then looked outside. He stumbled back instantly, nearly falling. Aisha, don't look. But she did. And there, standing in their driveway, was the same man. Unblinking. Holding the piece of hair. And dragging a long wooden plank behind him. Carved into the wood. Numbers. Counting marks. Dozens of them. Hundreds. He had been counting for years. And now, he had reached the next number. The man didn't move. He just stood there in the driveway, eyes wide, jaw slightly parted, as if he'd never learned how to close it again. The wooden plank dragged behind him, scraping grooves into the concrete. And with every second that passed, the marks carved into it seemed more horrifying. They weren't random. They were scores. Wins. Games played. Games finished. Aisha's mother grabbed her arm. Don't open the door. Don't speak. Don't look at him directly, she whispered, terror shaking her voice. But Samir couldn't look away. He followed us, he muttered. He never stayed in one place. He was waiting. He began tapping the wooden board against the ground. Low. Methodical. Rhythmic. Like a signal. All. Countdown. Aisha's mother trembled. He's inviting you to play. The three of them backed away from the window. But the tapping continued. Samir whispered. He's not leaving. Aisha's mother shook her head. He won't. Not until the game ends. They didn't sleep. Not even when the tapping stopped. Not even as dawn touched the horizon. But with daylight the man was gone. Not vanished. Not disappeared. Just waiting somewhere else. Samir insisted they leave the city. Leave the country. Never return. But Aisha's mother said something that stopped them cold. You can't run from him. Not anymore. Once he chooses you, the game has begun. He will follow. He always follows. Aisha's voice cracked. What does he want? Her mother's eyes were hollow. To be found. They tried to live normally for 2 days. Every window locked. Every curtain shut. Every light on. But every night footsteps. Outside the door. Under the windows. On the roof. The house was never quiet. And Aisha started hearing whispers. Come find me. Come play. Come downstairs. Samir stayed strong as long as he could. But on the third night they heard something new. Knocking. Not from outside. From under the house. Samir froze. Aisha, that's the basement. The knocks grew louder. Persistent. Impatient. Knock, knock, knock. Aisha's mother collapsed to the floor, covering her ears. No, it's starting again. Samir grabbed Aisha's hand. We're ending this. Tonight. No more running. She wanted to scream. But she nodded. Because deep inside she knew. Hiding is what fed him. He didn't hunt those who confronted him. He hunted those who listened. Waited. Feared. They went to the old house. The one where the whispering began. where the trapdoor waited. The forest around it was silent. No wind, no birds, no life. The house felt like a mouth, waiting to swallow them. Inside, everything was exactly the same. The broken picture frame, the dirt tracks, the trapdoor slightly open, as if he'd left it that way. Like an invitation. Samir swallowed hard. We go together. They pulled the trapdoor up. The darkness beneath was endless. A smell rose up, wet soil, rot, and something old, like bones left too long in earth. Aisha whispered, "Hello." Silence. And laugh. Not loud, not sharp, but soft, and terribly happy, like a child. They descended. The basement wasn't dirt and stone anymore. It was tunnels. Long, narrow, carved by hand, by nails, by years. Scratches lined the walls. Oars, numbers. He had been counting his days underground. Samir held Aisha close. We stick together. No matter what. But the tunnels twisted, drifted, became impossible to navigate. And then, Samir wasn't beside her anymore. Aisha turned. Samir. No answer. Samir. Her voice echoed. And then, from somewhere in the dark, found you. Not Samir's voice. The man crawled into view. He didn't walk, he crawled, body contorting, limbs bending wrong, head tilting too far. He was smiling. And in that moment, Aisha understood. He didn't play hide and seek because he loved it. He played it because it was the only way he knew how to exist. He had never left the game. He had never grown up. He had become it. Aisha stepped back, trembling. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She stared directly at him. No, she whispered. I'm not playing anymore. For the first time, the man stopped smiling. His head twitched, neck cracking, jaw shuddering, as if the game ending was something he did not understand. He leaned closer, inches from Aisha's face. His voice was a dry, broken whisper. Don't leave me here alone. And suddenly, she understood the truth. He didn't want to kill her. He wanted a partner. Forever. Aisha stepped back toward the tunnel entrance. Low. Steady. I see you, she said softly. His eyes widened. I see you, she repeated. He froze. Because in hide and seek, when you find someone, the game is over. Aisha turned. Ran. She climbed. She burst through the trapdoor, Samir pulling her up and out. The house groaned, walls shaking, dust falling. The tunnels below collapsed. The trapdoor slammed shut. And the forest exhaled. They moved away. Far away. Different city. Different home. Different life. Years passed. They never went near a forest again. Never played games in the dark. Never whispered after midnight. But sometimes, late at night, if Aisha listened closely, she heard it, very faintly, from somewhere beneath the floorboards. Not angry, not threatening, just waiting. 'Cause the game may be over, but he remembers her, and he is still counting, until she comes back, or until she is found again.